Right, hello everyone. Previously in our lesson, we have learned about how to calculate the median, quartiles, and percentiles of discrete data, where we look at even data sets as well as odd data sets. In this lesson, we're going to look at how to calculate the median, quartiles, and percentiles of continuous data. Let's take a look at the example in the following question. Okay. Right, now that we have understood how to calculate the datas for discrete datas, okay, now we will actually take a look at how to calculate all the different statistical values for a continuous data. Now, this is a N-level question. This is taken from the 2020 paper. Okay, so we have a question over here. A farmer finds the masses of 220 sheep in this cumulative frequency curve here. So the diagram actually shows the distribution of the masses in kilograms. Okay, so we can see that it's an S-shaped graph, and it has all the different masses for 120 sheep. Okay. How do you know how many shifts are there? You look at the frequency on the y-axis. So the y-axis actually shows the distribution of the frequency. The maximum value we can notice over here, okay, is that the peak of the S-shaped graph. Okay, so this highest value here will also represent the total number of objects in this question. So in this case, the number of objects here is the number of sheep is 120 sheep in this question. Okay, so based on this graph, we are supposed to find some statistical values. We are supposed to find the median. We're supposed to find the interquartile range as well as the 80th percentile. Okay, so unlike our discrete data, right, where we are looking at the middle value, for a continuous graph, um, there is also a middle value, but we need to use percentage to actually find our middle value. So based on our understanding of percentage, right, the middle is also known as the 50%, right? So median is also usually associated with the 50 percentile of a question. Right. So similarly, if we think about lower quartile, right, lower quartile is actually the middle of the lower half. So based on the 50 percentile, we take the middle of the 50 percentile. Okay, so our lower quartile will actually be 25 percentile, right? The 25th percentile. So and in the same analogy, when we're looking at the upper quartile, okay, upper quartile is actually the middle of the upper half. So we add another 25 to 50, right? So the upper quartile is represented by the 75th percentile of a data. Okay, so these are some ideas that you need to have before we actually do the calculations. Okay, let's take a look at how to calculate the answers. Okay, so let's find the median first. Okay, so again, we have discussed earlier, there's a total of 120 sheep in this question. So we will need to actually find the 50 percentile. Okay, so to calculate the 50 percentile, all right, we'll take 120 sheep multiplied by 50 over 100. Okay, so this will give us the 50 percentile. Okay, but what is important here, right? Whenever we are calculating median, upper quartile, lower quartile, the 80th percentile, the 90th percentile, whatever it is, right? All your answers should only come from the x-axis. Right, a common mistake that students always make is they just calculate whatever percentile, and they just take whatever answer that they have as their answer for the median, for the upper quartile. This is not correct, right? So you have to remember whatever values, whatever percentile that we calculate, right, is just representing the position. Okay, the position of the data, which is represented on the y-axis. Our actual answer for median, upper quartile, lower quartile, it has to come from the x-axis, right? So so this part you have to be a bit careful about it, right? Okay, so we calculate our answer. The answer is actually the weight of the 60th sheep. Okay, so where's the 60th sheep? Okay, so use a ruler when you're trying to get the answer. Okay, so we locate the 60th sheep on our diagram, okay, on the y-axis. Okay, so use your ruler, draw dotted lines until your line hits the graph itself. Okay, so you just draw dotted lines. Okay, I'm drawing on the laptop, so it's not very stable here, right? But basically, you just keep drawing until you hit the the graph itself. Okay, and then from the graph itself, right, you draw dotted lines until you hit the x-axis. Okay, so you just keep drawing dotted lines until you hit the x-axis. Okay, so based on our answer, right, the median in this case will be 122 kg. Okay, so this is how we calculate the median of the data. Right? Okay, let's take a look at the interquartile range now. Okay, so as per what we have discussed earlier, the interquartile range comprises of two values, the upper quartile and the lower quartile. Okay, so upper quartile being the middle of the upper half is represented by the 75th percentile. Okay, so we can actually calculate the 75th percentile first. Okay, so your upper quartile is represented by the 75th percentile. So 75th percentile will just take 120 ships multiply by 75 over 100. This is how we calculate the 75th percentile. And this will be the weight of the 90th ship. Right? Okay, this will be the weight of the 90th ship. No, sorry, weight of the, yes, okay, 90th ship. Okay, so again, we want to look at the 90th shape. So you just use your ruler. Okay, position your ruler at the 90th position, 90th mark, right? And you just draw dotted lines until you hit the graph itself. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, it's not very stable here. Okay, okay, so just draw dotted lines until you hit the graph. Okay, and once you hit the graph, right, you just draw dotted lines until you hit the um, x-axis. Okay, so use a ruler so that it's more accurate. Okay, and once you hit the x-axis, you realize that the upper quartile is 128 kg. Okay, after we are done with the upper quartile, you'll need to find the lower quartile. Okay, so lower quartile, as what we have discussed earlier, is the middle of the lower half. So this will be represented by the 25th percentile. Okay, so we take the 120 ships multiplied by 25 over 100. Okay, so this will give us the weight of the 30th ship. Okay, is the weight of the 30th ship. Okay, and look at the 30 mark. Okay, so 30 mark is over here. Okay, you just draw dotted lines. Use a ruler. Okay, draw dotted lines from the y-axis until you hit the graph. And once you hit the graph, you draw dotted lines down until you hit the x-axis. Okay, so the weight of the 30th ship is actually 116 kg. To find our interquartile range, we will just use the formula. Okay, so the interquartile range, Q3 minus Q1, it will be 128 kg minus 116 kg. Okay, we take the difference. Our interquartile range will just be 12 kg. Yeah, okay, it will be 12 kg. Okay, so this is how we find the interquartile range for this question. Okay, finally, we want to find the 80th percentile. Okay, so as the name imply, right, 80th percentile, we want the 80th percent of the ship. Okay, so again, we do the same workings. So 80th percentile. Okay, so it will be 120 ships multiplied by 80 over 100. So use your calculator, you get the 96 ship. Okay, the weight of the 96 ship. Okay, it's not the 96 ship, it's the weight of the 96 ship. Okay, so just again draw dotted lines from your graph. Okay, so from the y-axis, the 96 will be over here. Okay, so you just draw dotted lines, use your ruler, draw dotted lines until you hit the graph. Alright, and from the graph, you draw dotted lines until you hit the x-axis. Alright, so once you're done with that, it's actually 129 kg. Okay, and these are the different techniques to find your statistical information for the continuous data. Okay, and that's all for our lesson today. Hope you have learned something. Okay, we'll see you next time.